Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. We're diving into something pretty heavy today.
Yeah, we are.
The true cost of following Jesus. We're going to be using It Will Cost You Everything by Stephen J. Lawson.
It's a good one.
And buckle up, because Lawson, he does not hold back at all.
No, he doesn't.
He really gets into what Jesus demands from his followers.
Yeah. One of the things I love about this book is how Lawson just cuts right to the chase.
Yeah.
He doesn't present discipleship as like this feel-good Sunday school lesson or something. It's like he really confronts us with the reality that following Jesus, it's a radical commitment.
It really is. And one of the first things that kind of hit me when I was reading this book was how Lawson, he emphasizes that discipleship. It's a journey. It's not just about outward actions.
Right.
It's about aligning your heart, your motivations, everything with Christ's teachings.
Absolutely. It's like, think of it this way. Like you're going on a cross-country road trip. You wouldn't just hop in the car with no map, no destination, and no idea what to expect.
No. You need some snacks, too.
Yes, definitely snacks. But you need to know where you're going, following Jesus. It's the same thing. It's a journey. And Lawson's kind of giving us the roadmap.
I love that analogy. Yeah. And so we have this roadmap, and then Lawson goes on to paint this really vivid picture of all these different people who were following Jesus during his ministry.
Oh, yeah.
He breaks them down into like 5 categories. The committed minority,
Right.
the curious majority, the confused masses,
Right.
the sin-convicted seekers,
Yeah.
and then the false followers.
It's almost like a reality check, isn't it?
It is.
Because, we tend to think of Jesus' followers as this like homogenous group of saints.
Yeah.
But Lawson shows us that even back then there were all these different kinds of people following Jesus with different motivations.
Totally. And, going through these categories, I realized that like probably all of us, we fall into one of these groups
Oh, yeah.
at different points in our own faith journey.
Absolutely.
I mean, have there ever been times when you've just been super fired up for Jesus?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And then other times when you're like, I'm not so sure about this whole self-denial thing.
All the time. I think what Lawson's getting at is that true discipleship, it's a process. It's not like you flip a switch and suddenly you're a perfect follower of Jesus.
Right.
It's okay to have doubts. It's okay to ask questions. What matters is that we keep seeking. We keep growing, and we keep moving towards a deeper understanding of what it really means to follow Christ.
Absolutely. So we've got these different types of followers. And then Lawson throws in this really challenging statement from Jesus.
Yeah.
He says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple.
Whoa.
I know. Right. Intense.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I think this is where understanding the context and the literary style of the Bible is so important.
Okay.
Because Jesus was using a figure of speech here called hyperbole. It's an exaggeration to make a point.
So he didn't like literally mean that we should hate our families.
No, definitely not. What Jesus is emphasizing here is the absolute importance of loving him above all else.
Okay.
It's recognizing that our devotion to Christ has to be so strong that it's even greater than our love for our closest family members.
That makes a lot more sense, because initially I was like, wait a minute, Jesus? My mom is awesome.
Right, exactly. It's about priorities.
Okay.
It's like you have this limited amount of space in your heart, and you have to decide what gets the most space.
Okay.
For a true disciple, that space belongs to Jesus.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's
not about hating our families. It's just about recognizing that our love for them shouldn't come before our love for Christ.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how Lawson is building this picture of what radical devotion really looks like. But he doesn't stop there.
No, he doesn't.
He goes on to talk about another one of Jesus' challenging commands. Carry your cross. And let me tell you, he does not sugarcoat what crucifixion meant in Roman times.
No. It's so easy to romanticize that phrase, carry your cross.
It is.
And think of it in terms of like minor inconveniences or like personal struggles.
Right.
But Lawson takes us back to the historical reality of crucifixion. This horrific form of capital punishment reserved for the worst criminals. Imagine being forced to carry the very instrument of your execution through the streets, exposed to public ridicule and shame.
That is a powerful image.
It is.
And disturbing.
Yeah.
It really puts things into perspective. So what is Lawson saying about how this applies to us today?
Right.
We're obviously not being asked to literally carry wooden crosses around.
Right. And I think to understand that, we need to look at some of Jesus's parables that Lawson unpacks in the book.
Okay, let's do it.
He really focuses on the parable of the foolish builder and the parable of the warring kings.
Oh, yeah. I remember those from Sunday school.
Yeah, they're classics.
The foolish builder starts building this huge tower without even checking if he has enough to finish it right.
Exactly. And the warring kings, that's the one where one king knows he's going to lose, so he sends a message to the other king to try to work out some peace terms.
Yeah. Okay, so how does Lawson tie those parables back to carrying our cross?
Well, he uses them to illustrate the cost and consequences of discipleship. You know?
Okay.
What happens when we don't truly count the cost before we jump in?
Okay. I'm intrigued. Let's start with the foolish builder. What's the connection there?
Well, the foolish builder, he gets all caught up in his big plans.
Right.
But he totally fails to think about the long-term commitment and sacrifice it's going to take to actually finish the thing.
Oh, yeah. It's like he's starting a marathon without training.
Exactly. And I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
We start projects or relationships or whatever with tons of enthusiasm and energy. But then when things get hard, we give up.
Totally. And that's what Lawson is getting at, right?
Following Jesus, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And we can't be casual about it.
Yeah.
It demands this deep, unwavering commitment. And we need to be prepared for those hard times.
So it's not just about saying yes to Jesus initially.
Right.
It's about choosing to carry your cross every single day.
Every day, yeah.
Even when it's difficult. Even when it means denying ourselves.
And putting Christ's will above our own, no matter what.
Okay. And so how does the parable of the warring kings fit into all of this?
Well, that one is all about surrender and making peace.
Okay. I see the surrender part, but I'm not sure about the peacemaking. Remind me how that parable goes again.
So you have these two kings. They're getting ready for battle, and one of them is totally outmatched.
Right. Like he knows his army's going to get crushed.
Exactly.
So he sends a delegation to the stronger king to try to negotiate for peace.
Right. So he can avoid total destruction.
Okay, yeah. And then Lawson says that the weaker king represents us, humanity.
Rebelling against God.
Yeah.
Like we're that doomed army.
Right.
Trying to resist the power of our Creator.
Okay. And I'm guessing the stronger king is Jesus.
Exactly. Christ is the stronger king, offering us terms of peace.
Through his sacrifice on the cross.
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of mind-blowing that God would offer us this way to be reconciled with him, even though we constantly rebel against him.
It's amazing grace.
Right.
It really is. But, okay, there has to be a catch, right?
Well, yeah, there are conditions for this peace treaty.
Okay, what are they?
Lawson points to one of Jesus' commands. It's a tough one.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
Renounce all you possess.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds intense.
It does, right?
Like, do we all have to take a vow of poverty or something?
I know. That's what I thought, too. But Lawson makes it clear that Jesus isn't saying we all have to sell all our stuff and live in poverty.
Okay, that's a relief. So then what does it mean? What does it mean to renounce everything?
It's about a complete change in perspective.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we're not owners of anything. We're just stewards.
So like we're managing God's stuff? It's not really ours?
That's a good way to put it. Like imagine you're managing a friend's estate. You know,
yeah.
You wouldn't just squander their money or neglect their property. You'd take care of it. You'd use it wisely for their benefit.
Okay. So we have to treat everything we have like it belongs to God.
Exactly. Our time, our talents, our possessions, even our relationships, they're all entrusted to us by God.
And we're supposed to use them for his purposes.
Yes. Not just for our own selfish gain.
So this could mean volunteering our time, using our skills to help others, being generous with our finances.
It's about aligning our priorities with God's priorities.
It's like becoming a financial advisor for God.
Like that.
Making sure his investments are being put to good use.
Exactly.
But seriously, I'm starting to see how challenging this can be. It takes a lot of trust and surrender.
It does. And Lawson doesn't shy away from the consequences of not embracing this radical surrender.
Okay, what do you mean?
He uses this powerful analogy to drive home the point.
Okay. You gotta tell me, what's the analogy?
It's the analogy of tasteless salt.
Okay.
You know how valuable salt was back in biblical times?
Yeah. I mean, they used it for, like, preserving food and stuff.
Right. Exactly. It was essential for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Purifying things, flavoring things.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Okay. So what's the connection to discipleship?
Well, Lawson points out that when salt loses its saltiness, it becomes completely useless. It's good for nothing. It literally gets thrown away.
So it loses its purpose.
Exactly. And that's what Lawson compares to those who claim to be followers of Christ.
Okay.
But they don't actually live it out, you know?
Right.
Like if we're not truly surrendered to him, if we're not willing to deny ourselves, then we're like that tasteless salt, ineffective and ultimately discarded.
So it's not enough to just like go to church on Sundays and call yourself a Christian.
Exactly. We have to actually live out our faith in a way that makes a difference.
Okay. So we had to be salty Christians.
Yes, I love that.
People who are actually living out the radical love and self-denial that Jesus talked about.
Right. People who are willing to stand out even when it's hard.
This is really making me think about those times when I've been more worried about what other people think than actually following Jesus.
Yeah, me too. I think that's the point of Lawson's book, you know? It's not to make us feel bad. It's to challenge us.
Right.
To really examine our hearts.
But what are we supposed to do with all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lawson doesn't give us easy answers. But I think the main takeaway is this. Following Jesus, it's not passive. It's active. It requires something from us. It requires surrender. It requires sacrifice.
So are we willing to pay the price? Are we ready to count the cost?
Even when it means giving up our comfort, our desires, maybe even our reputation. Lawson leaves us with this powerful thought. If you claim to be a follower of Christ, do your actions demonstrate your allegiance?
It's like he's saying, don't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a call to authenticity, to live out our faith in a way that's real and genuine.
So true discipleship isn't just about believing the right things.
It's about living them out.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the high cost of following Jesus, I'm left with this question. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Are you ready to embrace the radical call of discipleship? Lawson challenges us to really count the cost.
And then to choose.
To choose wisely.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into a fascinating topic.